Okay, so today we're going to learn about the CD spectrometer. So this instrument does have a logbook, so whenever you use it, we'll just fill in some information. It just helps us with like maintenance and keeping track of things. So one of the first things you have to do is fill in the nitrogen tank value. So if we go over here, so you'll make sure you turn on the nitrogen tank, just open this to the left, and then we'll read this. And then whatever that number is for the pressure, we'll fill that in for the nitrogen tank. So the next thing you want to do is we'll look at this flow monitor. So depending on what measurement you're running, you can reference the SOP for this. You'll spin this dial and just get it to the correct flow rate that you want. So right now we have it at about a 6, which is what we want for our measurements, so feel free to adjust. And then once that looks good, we can go ahead and turn on the instrument. So this is our cooling device, so we'll turn this on back here. And then to turn on the spectrometer, it's turning on this switch. And then we'll go ahead and open up the program. Okay, so on the computer, we're going to open up Spectrometer. That's going to be the file, or the program. First it's going to just say initializing. So now that it says idle, we're going to go ahead and set up our measurement. So there's a bunch of different ones you can choose from. They're all very similar. We're going to go ahead and just do spectra measurement. And then it's going to have to purge the nitrogen gas for about 10 minutes. So while that's happening, we're going to go ahead and show you how to set up your sample. Alright, so to get the cuvettes, we've got a couple different options. So we have our smaller quartz cuvette with a 1 millimeter path length. This one you cannot put into a stir bar, put a stir bar into, it's very small. And so there's this one. And then we also have our 10 millimeter cuvette. So if you are using your own, you're just going to want to make sure it's a strain-free quartz cuvette. And then if you want to use a stir bar for this one, we've got like a small one here. So we'll go ahead and prep this guy. First we're going to rinse it with water, and then, yeah, okay. Make sure you have a waste container as well, so you can dump that out. And then after the water, you'll do an IPA rinse. Okay. And then after the IPA rinse, you'll do an acetone rinse. So once you've done that, so you'll want to wipe down the sides with a chem wipe, the clear sides, and then from there you can fill it up with your buffer solution, and then we'll load it into the instrument. We're just going to use some water, and then just make sure it's filled at least halfway. And then to load the sample inside, so we'll lift this up. There's 6 different spaces that you can put the sample into. The detector is here, so you just want to make sure that the clear sides are in this direction. So we're going to put it into number 1. And then, so this wire also can measure the temperature. So if you want to have the temperature recorded of your sample, you can stick it inside. But if you're not using it, just make sure it's not free floating and you tuck it back into here. And then that way it's just reading the temperature of this whole setup. And yeah. Alright, so now that it's done purging, we're going to go ahead and check a couple things for the detector. So first we're going to set this wavelength to 300. We'll hit OK. And then once it's done that, we can check the voltage. So you'll want to write down this value into the logbook, and then we'll go ahead and open up the shutter, and then now we'll record this voltage as well into the logbook, and once you're done doing that, we can go ahead and close the shutter again. Alright, so the next thing we want to do over here in this bottom left, so depending on what cell you use, so if you use number 2, you can click that one. If you use number 1, you can just double click to select which cell you're on. And then just verify the cell length. So if you use the 1 millimeter cell, switch this to 1, otherwise keep this at 10. And then we're going to go ahead and open these settings. So we can set the temperature here, and then if you use that little wire and you have it inside your cell, you can use the cell. Otherwise, you just leave it at the holder. If you use the stir bar in the larger cuvette, we can set the rotation here. Otherwise, just keep it off. And then just verify the cell position that you're using. And then just make sure to hit apply for all these things. And then we'll hit close. And then to change the parameters, we'll click on parameters up top. So here we've got 3 channels open, and so if you wanted to change any of these, you can. And then you can set the CD scale here, and then we'll just leave the rest of this the same. For this, you can just select the start and end. We'll just do a short run for this, and set the pitch as well. Leave these parameters. And then for the scan speed, so the scan speed and the detector integration time, you want to make sure that multiply these 2 values equal 200. So if you wanted to change this to, let's say, 100, then you'll want to change this to 2 seconds. So just make sure that the value is either 200 or less. And that'll just help make sure that your data looks clean and it's not like kind of funny looking. For accumulation, so if you want accumulation, it'll take 3 scans and then average them, so it'll just give you less noisy data. And then if you don't want accumulations, then it'll just do 3 separate measurements. So just depending on what you want. For cell unit, so if you wanted to control the temperature while you did your measurement, you can do that here. Otherwise, just leave it unchecked. Under control, so if you're using absorbance and you want a baseline correction, you can click this. Otherwise, you can select no. And then for information, just leave your initials as the operator, and you can set up the name of your sample and anything else for just the metadata that'll happen at the end. For data, we can click which folder you'd like to save your data under, and you can just export a CSV. The rest of this can stay the same. And once this is all good, we'll hit OK. And then once that's done, we can just run our baseline scan, and then after that we can run the sample scan. So once you've ran your sample, you can, and you're just ready to clean up. You can take a flash drive, and then you can export the data from there. And then to finish up, we want to just make sure we collect some data for the logbook. So the first thing you'll want to do is just go to control and then light source. So we want to just record these 2 numbers into the logbook, so the 38 hours and then the 0.8 hours. And then the last number for the logbook is going to be the nitrogen tank, so just go look at the nitrogen tank, make sure you record that value. So from here we'll just close the program, and then once you're done with that, just make sure to export your data with a flash drive. So to remove your sample, we'll open up this guy. So we'll go ahead, grab our cuvette, and then close this guy. And then just make sure to rinse it out, dump it out, collect the waste, dispose of it in your lab, and then rinse it. And then next we'll turn off first the instrument, and then we'll turn off the cooling feature. And then we'll go over here. So we'll want to record the final value of our pressure. Make sure you put that into the logbook. And then when you're done, you can go ahead and close this. And then you're all good.